Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolute masterclass in ancient political survival, deep cover espionage, and honestly, some devastating family betrayal. We're diving into a really crucial chapter of the ancient Indian epic, the Mahabharata, where a quiet, innocent walk in the gardens suddenly turns into a high-stakes battle for survival. So, picture this. What's your very first move when the people actively trying to assassinate you are literally your own flesh and blood? We so often think of ancient myths as these straightforward black and white tales of good and evil. But as you'll see today, this narrative operates exactly like a tense, high-stakes espionage thriller. The enemy isn't waiting at the gates. The enemy is sleeping in the bedroom right next door. Part 1. The Missing Pandava Brother. All right, let's set the scene. We've got two groups of royal cousins, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and they're returning to the city of Hastinapura after spending some time sporting in the woods. They're traveling back on horses, elephants, cars, the whole shebang. But as they arrive, a chilling realization sets in. The mighty Pandava brother, Bhima, is mysteriously missing. And right away, we see this tragic, dramatic irony playing out between the two leaders of these cousin factions. On one side, we have Yudhishthira, the eldest Pandava. The text describes him as virtuous and entirely unacquainted with vice. Because of that, he makes a dangerously naive assumption. He just assumes, oh, Bhima probably just walked ahead. But on the other side, we have Duryodhana, the Kaurava leader. The source explicitly notes he is wicked and glad at heart to miss his powerful rival. He is privately totally thrilled by the disappearance. So Yudhishthira goes to his mom, Kunti, to ask if she sent Bhima anywhere, naturally concluding that if he's missing from the group, he must be dead. Kunti instantly shrieks in alarm. Cutting right through Yudhishthira's naivety, she correctly pieces the whole thing together. You see, she knows Duryodhana openly covets the throne. She recognizes his low-mindedness, and she instantly suspects he's orchestrated a murder plot against her son. Now, in a total panic, Kunti calls in a super important figure from our source text, Vidura. Vidura is a wise and illustrious kshatriya who basically acts as a strategic advisor to the royal family. He immediately steps in to de-escalate the situation. He tells Kunti, say not so. He advises her to protect her remaining sons quietly. Why? Because if she accuses Duryodhana openly right now, he might just slaughter the rest of her children. Vidura actually assures her that, according to prophecy, Bhima will return safely.
Part 2. Awakening in the Underworld.
Okay, let's shift gears away from the tense palace and head down into the hidden depths of the Naga realm. Because, as it turns out, the victim of this assassination plot isn't dead at all. In fact, he's about to undergo a massive transformation. Bhima's incredible rebirth actually takes place in the subterranean world of the serpents. After falling into a deep slumber on day 1, which was a result of whatever initial plot befell him, he wakes up on the 8th day. And he isn't just groggily awake, he's fully refreshed. The Nagas, the serpent beings of this realm, offer him a strength-giving nectar. After he drinks it, he's purified, dressed, and safely transported right back to the surface gardens where he first disappeared. What was meant to be his watery grave has just turned into a legitimate superhuman origin story. 10,000. Our source text specifies that once Bhima has fully digested the nectar given to him by the Nagas, he is granted the unbelievable might of 10,000 elephants. It's a staggering, awe-inspiring scale of power. The Nagas declare that literally no one will be able to vanquish him in a fight now. I mean, think about that. His enemies tried to quietly eliminate a rival, and instead, they inadvertently created an absolute juggernaut. Right before he leaves, the Nagas perform this really beautiful departure ritual. They purify him with a bath, deck him out in white robes and flowery garlands, and they feed him paramana. Paramana is a sweet, nourishing offering of rice and sugar pudding. It's a mark of immense respect and blessing from the serpents before they vanish from his sight, leaving him safely back on the Earth's surface. Part 3. The Strategy of Silence. So, returning to the surface, Bhima literally sprints back to his mother and brothers. The text describes a joyous, incredibly emotional reunion, bowing, embracing, smelling the heads of the younger brothers in pure relief and affection. But this joyful family reunion is about to pivot rapidly into a covert war council. Bhima tells his brothers everything. He reveals Duryodhana's villainy and all the incredible events that went down in the world of the serpents. And this right here is where Yudhishthira, who was previously so naive, makes a brilliant, entirely unexpected tactical choice. He initiates a total information blackout. Yudhishthira essentially lays down a strict, top-secret survival protocol. He commands his brothers to observe absolute silence regarding the plot. Do not speak of this villainy to anyone. From that day on, they are to protect one another with extreme care and remain highly vigilant at all times. They're going to keep their enemy entirely in the dark. Duryodhana will have absolutely no idea that they know he's a murderer. Their silence becomes their ultimate shield.
And even as the plots against them become totally obvious, they follow the sage advice of Vidura and, as the text says, suppress their indignation. Now, suppressing your anger and playing dumb is incredibly difficult, but as this text shows us, it's often the most powerful strategic advantage you can possibly hold over a hostile enemy. Let them think you're foolish while you silently prepare. Part 4. A deadly second dose. Of course, a Cold War rarely stays totally cold for long, right? Duryodhana's malice just isn't satisfied. Since Bhima returned alive, Duryodhana tries assassinating him a second time, and the sequence of events here is just wild. First, he mixes a fresh, virulent, and very deadly poison into Bhima's food. Second, the Pandavas are tipped off about it. Third, and honestly this is the craziest part, Bhima willingly swallows it anyway, without any hesitation. Because of his newly acquired biological immunity from the Naga nectar, he digests the deadly poison completely with absolutely zero effect. He essentially treats a deadly biological weapon like a light afternoon snack.
Now, you might be wondering, how on earth did the Pandavas know the food was poisoned in the first place? Well, it's all thanks to an inside informant named Yuyutsu. As a son of King Dhritarashtra via Vaishya wife, he's a half-brother to the Kauravas, yet his friendship with the Pandavas compels him to quietly warn them. This proves there are deep internal fractures within the Kaurava family that the Pandavas are quietly, strategically benefiting from.
Part 5. Preparing for inevitable war.
The mere fact that the Pandavas are surviving is driving their enemies to absolute desperation. And this brings us to the peak of this Cold War dynamic. On one side, we have the Kauravas, Duryodhana, Karna, and Shakuni relentlessly cooking up contrivance after contrivance to kill the Pandavas. On the other side, we have the Pandavas' silent vigilance. The source tells us that every single one of these contrivances was fully known to the Pandavas. Yet, they maintain their infuriating facade, pretending complete ignorance just to survive. It's a breathtaking, high-wire act of psychological endurance.
Meanwhile, King Dhritarashtra is completely, blissfully oblivious to this silent war raging right under his own roof. He simply notices that the Kuru princes are passing their time in idleness and growing naughty. So he decides it's finally time they receive formal instruction. Enter Gautama, the preceptor. So Gautama, who's also known as Kripa, is brought in to train the boys. The text notes he was born among a clump of heath and is exceptionally well-skilled in the Vedas. He's given the monumental task of teaching these bitter, deeply divided rivals the use of arms. The formal training of the warriors has officially begun.
Which leaves us with just a massive cliffhanger. I mean, think about it. What happens when a royal family, already locked in a deadly, silent Cold War involving poisonings and covert alliances, is suddenly handed weapons and formal combat training by a master preceptor? How long can Yudhishthira's strategy of silence possibly hold when the swords are finally drawn? That is exactly where our source material leaves us today, wonderfully setting the stage for the explosive conflicts to come. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep questioning everything.